Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be discussing how to set up your Raspberry Pi. So let's get right into it. The materials needed for this setup are, of course, your Raspberry Pi. You're also going to need an SD card with at least 8 gigabytes of storage. We'll be formatting this SD card, so make sure that you don't have anything important downloaded onto it. You also need an SD card reader. And finally, you'll need your power cord, which is just a Type-C cable. The first thing we're going to need to do is download the Raspberry Pi operating system. Go to any web browser and search for raspberrypi.com/software/. Then scroll down until you see Install Raspberry Pi OS using the Raspberry Pi Imager. Then download for your operating system. The next thing I'm going to do is run through the Raspberry Pi setup. So I'm going to click Install, and that's it. So make sure to click Run Raspberry Pi Imager, and then I'm going to click Finish. So now we have the Raspberry Pi Imager. Make sure you have your SD card plugged in, and I'm going to go ahead and choose my Raspberry Pi device, which is just going to be Raspberry Pi 4. And then I'm going to choose the operating system that I want to download. And then finally, I'm going to choose the storage that I'll be using. And then when I click next, it'll ask if I would like to apply OS customization settings. So I'm just going to go to edit settings. And here you can just set a username and password to your Raspberry Pi. Whenever you open it up, it'll ask you for this. However, for the video's purposes, I will not be setting a username and password. So I'm just going to uncheck this box. The last thing I'm going to do is just configure wireless LAN. So I'm going to check this box. And this is going to be helpful because if you are using Wi-Fi, you will not need to connect to a monitor every single time to open it up, and you can instead just use a VNC viewer and then connect via that way. And I'll show you what I mean later in the video. And now I'm just going to click Save. And then would I like to apply OS customization settings? Yes. And so when you're downloading the Raspberry Pi operating system onto your SD card, it will ask you to format your SD card and all existing data will be erased. And so I'm going to go ahead and click Yes. And now it is writing the operating system to my SD card. And now it is verifying. Okay, and that's it. Now I'm just gonna click continue and remove the SD card from the reader. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take my SD card out of the USB stick. And I'm gonna set it down. And then now I'm going to flip my Raspberry Pi over. And once you do this, you'll see that there is a silver plate over here, and that is where our SD card is going to go. So I'm going to take my SD card. Make sure that these golden lines are facing towards the inside when you flip it over. And now I'm just going to simply push it into place, and that's it. Now that I've inserted my SD card, I'm just going to flip my Raspberry Pi over. And then I'm going to grab my power cable, which is the Type-C. And I'm going to plug this in right here into the only Type-C port on the Raspberry Pi. And you should see two lights here, one red, one green. And that's it. Now the Raspberry Pi is turned on. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is download a VNC viewer so that we can connect to our Raspberry Pi without having to connect directly to the monitor, but instead by Wi-Fi. So I'm just going to search up VNC viewer. And then I'm going to click VNC viewer download. And once you get to this page, you can just download for whichever operating system that you have and just run through the setup. The next thing that we need to do is find the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. To do this, we're going to download an app called Fing. I'm going to go to the Microsoft Store, but you can also do this on your phone. And here I'm just going to search for Fing. And you'll see Fing Desktop Network Scanner. I'm just going to click this, and I'm going to install this. Okay, now it's installed, and now I'm just going to search for Thing. Yep, here it is. And now I'm just going to sign in. All right, so I just ran through the setup, and now I have gotten to the home page, the overview. And once you get here, you can just click see all devices. It'll show your connected devices. And you're just going to scroll until you see a Raspberry Pi or something that has the Raspberry Pi logo. And you can just click on it and copy this IP address. And once you do this, you now want to open up your VNC viewer. And I already have it entered here, but you're just going to enter your IP address here, click enter, and it should connect to your Raspberry Pi. I'm just going to double click on this and give it a second. Yeah, and that's it. You've set up your Raspberry Pi. So if I just enter full screen here, and you can just click this Raspberry Pi icon here, go to programming and go to Thani, which is where most of our programming is going to be done. You can see here. Let me just exit full screen actually. Yeah, most of our coding is going to be done here. And that's it. That's your Raspberry Pi setup. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one, where I'll be talking about how the breadboard and the Raspberry Pi work and interact with each other. See you then.